What's going on today, YouTube? Rob here. I'm back with more deck profile videos, pack openings, and other booster boxes and whatnot. In today's video, I'm going to be doing an Eldlich deck profile for the April 2021 format. This deck is somewhat of a work in progress. I don't really know what direction I want to take this deck, but I hope you guys enjoy. And if you do, be sure to leave a like and be sure to comment on what your favorite variant of Eldlich is or what you might want to see in other videos. And also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on that notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Without wasting any more of your time, let's get into it. Alright guys, let's get into this Eldlich deck profile. So obviously, to start off, we've got triple copies of Eldlich, the Golden Lord. This card allows you to send it to the graveyard along with one spell and trap from your hand. And then it allows you to target one card on the field and send it to the graveyard. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can send one spell or trap that you control to the graveyard and add this card to your hand. Then you can special summon one zombie monster from your hand, and if you do, until the end of your opponent's turn, it gains 1000 attack and defense and cannot be destroyed by card effects. You can only use each effect of Eldlich the Golden Lord once per turn. Next up, we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, our generic hand trap for this variant of the deck. So when a card or effect is activated that includes any of the following effects, quick effect, you can discard this card and negate that effect. So if your opponent is adding a card from deck to hand, special summoning from the deck, or sending a card from the deck to the graveyard, and you can only use this effect of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring once per turn. Next up, I have a copy of Red Eyes Black Dragon and Dark Magician. You don't have to play this. This is for the Dragoon package, but again, you don't have to play it. This is kind of something that I was thinking of. And that's it for our monsters. Let's move on to our spells. So first up, we have triple copies of Elixir of White Destiny. So this card lets you special summon one zombie monster from your hand or graveyard, but if you control no Eldlich monsters, you can only special summon Eldlich monsters with this effect. And for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except zombie monsters, and during your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard and set one golden land, spell, or trap directly from your deck. You can only use one Elixir of White Destiny effect per turn and only once that turn. Next up, we've got triple copies of Cursed Eldland. So you cannot declare an attack except with zombie monsters, and you can only use each of the following effects of Cursed Eldland once per turn. So you can pay 800 life points and add one Eldlich monster or one golden land spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and if this card is sent from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard, you can send one Eldlich monster or one golden land spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard. Next up, we have two copies of Elixir of Black Awakening. This lets you special summon one zombie monster from your hand or deck in defense position, but if you control no Eldlich monsters, you can only special summon Eldlich monsters with this effect. And for the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except zombie monsters, and you can banish this card from your graveyard and set one golden land spell or trap directly from your deck. You can only use one Elixir of Black Awakening effect per turn and only once that turn. Lastly, for our spells, we have the one copy of Red Eyes Fusion, which again is optional. This allows you to fusion summon one fusion monster that lists Red Eyes a Red Eyes monster as material from your extra deck, and that is using monsters from your hand, deck, or field as fusion materials, and if you do, its name becomes Red Eyes Black Dragon. You cannot normal or special summon other monsters the turn that you activate this card, and you can only activate one Red Eyes fusion per turn. That's it for our spells. Let's get on to the traps. First up, we have triple copies of Conquistador of the Golden Land. You can special summon this card as a normal monster, zombie, light, level 5, attack 500, and defense 1800. This card is also still a trap. Then if you control an Eldlich, the Golden Lord, you can destroy one face-up card on the field, and during the end phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard and set one Eldlich spell or trap directly from your deck. You can only use one Conquistador of the Golden Land per turn, or effect per turn, and only once that turn. Next up, we've got Triple Sanguine. So this lets you special summon one zombie monster from your deck or graveyard, but if you control no Eldlich monsters, you can only special summon Eldlich monsters with this effect, and for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except for zombie types. You can banish this card from your graveyard and set one Golden Land spell or trap directly from your deck. You can only use one Eldlich of Scarlet Sanguine effect per turn, and only once that turn. Next, we have 3 copies of Huacaro of the Golden Lord, or Golden Land. This is another trap monster. Zombie, light, level 5, 1800 attack, and 1500 defense. Then, if you control an Eldlich the Golden Lord, you can banish one card from either graveyard, and during the end phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard and set one Eldlich spell or trap directly from your deck. You can only use one Huacaro of the Golden Lord or Golden Land effect per turn, and only once that turn. Next up, we have triple copies of Golden Land Forever. When a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated while you control an Eldlich monster, tribute one zombie monster and negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. You can only activate one Golden Land Forever per turn. Next up, we have triple copies of Guardian of the Golden Land. This is another trap monster. So you special summon this card as a normal monster, zombie, light, level 8, 800 attack, and 2500 defense. Then, if you control an Eldlich the Golden Lord, you can make the attack of one face-up monster on the field become 0, and during the end phase, if you can banish this card from your graveyard and set one Eldlich spell or trap directly from your deck. You can only use one Guardian of the Golden Land effect per turn, and only once that turn. Next up, we have 3 copies of El Dorado Adelantado. If you control an Eldlich monster, activate one of these effects. Shuffle 3 of your banished Eldlich or spell or traps with different names into your deck, and if you do, destroy all cards on the field. Or shuffle 3 of your banished Golden Land spell or traps with different names into your deck, and if you do, have your opponent's life points, then gain life points equal to their life points. You can only activate one El Dorado per turn. Next up, we have triple copies of Solemn Judgment. When a monster or monsters would be summoned, or a spell or trap card is activated, pay half your life points, negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Next up, we have Triple Dogmatica Punishment. So this lets you target one face-up monster that your opponent controls and send one monster with an equal or higher attack from your extra deck to the graveyard, and if you do, destroy that monster. Until the end of your next turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck, and you can only activate one punishment per turn. Next up, we have Dimensional Barrier. So this lets you declare one monster card type, Ritual Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, or Pendulum. And for the rest of this turn, neither player can special summon monsters of the declared type. Also, negate the effects of all monsters of that type while they are on the field, and you can only activate one Dimensional Barrier per turn. Next up, we have triple copies of Crackdown. Activate by targeting one face-up monster that your opponent controls and take control of that monster. While you control that monster, it cannot attack or activate effects. When that monster leaves the field, destroy this card. And lastly, for our traps, we have 3 copies of Debunk. When a monster effect is activated in the hand or graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, banish it. That's it for our traps. Let's get on to the extra deck really quick. So to start things off, we have 1 copy of AA Zeus. Once per turn, if an Xyz monster battled this turn, you can also Xyz summon AA Zeus by using one Xyz monster you control as material, transferring over the materials from that monster to this monster. And quick effect, you can detach 2 materials from this card, send all other cards on the field to the graveyard, and once per turn, if another card or cards you control is destroyed by battle or by opponent's card effect, you can attach 1 card from your hand, deck, or extra deck to this card as material. Next up, we have the 1 copy of Sky Palace Gangaridi. You can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, then target 1 card that your opponent controls and destroy that target, and if you do, inflict 1000 damage to your opponent. You can only use the effect of Sky Palace Gangaridi once per turn. This card cannot attack the turn you activate this effect. Next up, we have the 1 copy of Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. So once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card and inflict 2000 damage to your opponent. Lastly, for our Xyz, we have the 1 copy of Juggernaut Lieb. So once per turn, you can also Xyz summon this card by using 1 rank 10 machine Xyz monster you control as material, transferring its materials to this card. And once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card. It gains 2000 attack and defense. Also, for the rest of this turn, you can only declare an attack with this card. During each battle phase, this card can make attacks on monsters up to the number of Xyz materials it has plus 1. That's it for the Xyz monsters. Let's move on to the rest of our extra deck. So again, optional, we have the 1 copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which requires Dark Magician plus Red Eyes Black Dragon or 1 Dragon effect monster. Cannot be destroyed by card effects. Neither player can target this card with card effects, and during your main phase, you can destroy 1 monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. And you can use this effect a number of times per turn, up to the number of normal monsters used as fusion material for this card. And once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can discard 1 card and negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card, and if you do that, this card gains 1000 attack. That's it for our fusion. Let's move on to our links. So we have the 1 copy of Predaplant Verde Anaconda. Again, you don't have to play this. This is more for your Dragoon package if you decide to play that. This requires 2 effect monsters, and you can target 1 face-up monster on the field. It becomes dark until the end of this turn. You can pay 2000 life points and send 1 fusion or polymerization normal or quick play spell from your deck to the graveyard. This effect becomes that spell's effect when this card is activated. And also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, and you can only use each effect of Predaplant, Verte, Anaconda once per turn. Next, we have the 1 Nightmare Phoenix. This requires 2 monsters with different names. If this card is link summoned, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 spell or trap that your opponent controls and destroy it. Then, if this card was co-linked when this effect was activated, you can draw 1 card. You can only use this effect of Nightmare Phoenix once per turn, and co-linked monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. Next, we have the 1 Nightmare Griffin. 2+ monsters with different names. And if this card is link summoned, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 spell or trap in your graveyard, set it on your side of the field, but it cannot be activated this turn. Then, if this card was co-linked when this effect was activated, you can draw 1 card. You can only use the effect of Nightmare Griffin once per turn, and special summon monsters on the field cannot activate their effects unless they are co-linked. And lastly, we have 2 copies of Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. So this requires 4+ effect monsters, and you can also use 1 monster that your opponent controls as material to link summon this card. If this card is link summoned, you can negate the effects of all face-up monsters that your opponent currently controls, and this link summoned card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects unless they target this card. And once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect that special summons a monster or monsters from the graveyard, quick effect, you can negate the activation. And that's it for the extra deck. The other spots you guys can really just fill in. Alright guys, that's it for this Eldlich deck profile. Like I said, it is somewhat of a work in progress, we'll say. I don't really know what direction I want to take this deck. And again, you guys can play it however you want. So I hope that this gives you an idea as to some of the avenues that you can take this deck. And again, if you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like. Also, be sure to comment on what kind of videos you want to see next. And if you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing for more fun Yu-Gi-Oh videos, as I would also like to get up to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. That's game.